Hi, hello everyone. Welcome to our session on post-disaster cultural recovery in Haiti, the approach of Quisqueya University Cultural Disaster Center. So we have the pleasure to have Olsen Julien with us today. So Olsen Julien is an engineer and architect who has worked to preserve and promote the rich cultural heritage in Haiti. For more than a decade, he has a master's degree in conservation and monuments. He has postgraduate certificate in conservation and historic building sites from Columbia University in the US. Mr. Olsen has served also as Haiti Minister of Culture from 2008 and 2009. He is professor at State University and Quisqueya University. So Mr. Olsen, it's more than a pleasure to have you today.
Yeah, thank you, Stanley, for this presentation. It's a pleasure for me to be with you today and talk about what we have done and what we've been doing in Haiti the last 10 years. So, but today we are going to talk about the last earthquake that happened in Haiti in August 14, 2021. So, and I'm going to talk about what we have to do in relation to that earthquake. So my presentation would be in post-disaster recovery, cultural recovery in Haiti. So one thing that we need to say is Haiti is located in a region where earthquake happened. So that region is characterized by the presence of many earthquake faults, seismic faults. So two of them affect Haiti. So you can see in that image more clearly, there's a septentrional fault and there's a south fault, what we call Enriqueo Plantain Garden fault zone. So those two faults are responsible for many big earthquake in the country. So, but in August 14, 2021, we had a huge earthquake happening in the south part of the country. So, and affecting three main regions. So we're talking about the south region with the main city Flekai, talking about the Grandas department region. So with the main city of Jérémie, and we're talking about the NIP department, and two main cities are affected, Ansavo and Miragua. So this is a very important earthquake, and in terms of impacts, we also have huge impact in terms of people deceased. So we're talking about more than 2,000 people deceased. This is not a small scale disaster. So a lot of people are injured, a lot of people are missing, and collapsed house are in the 50,000 and with more than 77,000 damaged houses. So as I said before, we're talking about a major disaster. So it's a lot of people suffering, a lot of infrastructure collapse, roads and everything. And government have done. Now we are more than a month from that disaster. Many governmental institutions have been mobilized to help, we can say, and people from civil society have helped also. So, but from our point of view, what we are interested in is the impact on cultural properties for that presentation. And the first thing we've done with the help of the Smithsonian Cultural Rescue Initiative, we have tried to locate it where the cultural sites are and what relationship we have between the cultural sites and the damages. As you can see, and as it's happened most of the time in earthquake, cities are places where we are the most impact. So this is the city of Lekai, and all the yellow dots you see is like a cultural infrastructures that have been impacted by the quake. So from that element, we went down to the ground and located concretely the structure that have been damaged. So as you can see in that image, more than 29 Christian, Catholic, and Protestant churches just in the city of Lekai. So, and then we also have monuments and art centers in that city. So, but going from the city of Lekai only, we could do a category of cultural property that properties affected. So we're talking about Catholic churches, Protestant churches, Voodoo temples, and Rara band headquarters, and library and archives, workshops of artists and craftsmen, so art galleries and collection of institutional, historical, and literary archives. So going more concretely to the places where we have identified the damages, we can see more closely how churches are have affected. So this is the Bishop of the Diocese of Lekai. So we could recover documents, but he was like this, piles of rubbles. So, and this is other churches that you can see. It's been a real tragedy. So the Catholic Church made an assessment saying that they have more than 245 churches either damaged or collapsed, and schools also have been damaged. So Protestant churches have identified more than 350 churches damaged. So, and we could see how bad the structural damages are. So in our point of view, when you have so much damages, so you have a lot of objects of worship to recover. And that's exactly what we have tried to do a week after the earthquake. We sent people underground and they helped recover object of worship in badly damaged places. So here is in the Sacred Church in Lekai. So here you can see sculpture in Campere. It's a city like an hour from Lekai. So, and for the churches, we lay down a series of action to be taken. So the same thing goes for the Voodoo temple in Arabian headquarters. So we work with the Confederation of the National Confederation for Haitian Voodoo. It's a big association. It's the Federation of Voodoo Association in all the departments. In the South one made an assessment of churches of Voodoo temple collapse and damage. And we are talking about only for the South department, not including the Grandance and NIB department. We have 147 damaged Voodoo temples. This is the situation the day after the earthquake. So, and in that situation, so in this case, the Voodoo priestess, Julien Vital, died into the rubbles. So in Capere, and a lot of musical instruments, costume and installation, like Baji, Kailwa, with a lot of interesting objects have been destroyed in that particular Voodoo temple. So, and this is a view from a little further across the street, and you can see how bad the site was damaged. This is the middle of the street. So other Voodoo temples have been damaged also. And here you can see musical instrument and object of worship flags. So in dire situation. So and Voodoo temples are mostly people's home too. So priestesses and people live with objects of worship. So they usually have a room or a table inside the house where they do the prayers and the treatment. So when uh, you have such a situation, not only you have people losing their home, also they lose everything that is related to the worship and the kind of relationship they have with the community, treating them, advising them, counseling them, etc. So this is the kind of temples you see, and this is a moving temple. So this is a rara band. It's like a moving temple. You can see costumes, a flag, and musical instrument. So at work. So when you lose those objects in an earthquake, the community loses the ability to perform. And it's a very damaging thing for a community. This is a rara band moving in a rural area. So you can see how colorful is that, how joyful is the procession. So when you lose this type of thing, it's a very painful for the community. So you can see how preparation have done, so how beautiful are the girls trying to get ready for the Wara. It's a very important event in the community. So that you need to take care of. So anyway, for the Voodoo temples, we laid down a series of action to be taken, which is going back to this. And another aspect of cultural damage we have, it's the libraries and archives. So books, maps, institutional, historical, and literary archives. So we have a few community libraries in the region, so 16 in total, and 4 of them we have visited have been badly affected. And then we tried to do things at those libraries, trying to save documentary heritage so people can recover. So we have local volunteers to work with us in helping recover more than 50,000 books here in the city of Saint Louis du Sud, near Lekai. So this is a library in Lekai, Ibdek Library. So with more 10,000 books, and structure have been completely damaged. They've lost all the shelves, they have lost books and everything. So what we've done, we went there and then we helped them secure everything that we could get. So put them in boxes and put them in temporary storage so we can work on them later. So, but they need to put aside. So for all the libraries, we also laid down action to be taken. So another aspect is damaged artwork. In some churches, in some spaces, you have painting, sculpture, other type of objects of worship hanging and walls usually. So not very adequate for an earthquake-prone region. So we took the opportunity to document and organize those things. So here are like it's an outdoor monument and where people would gather, and it's what they call a calvaire in Haiti. So it's a place where people gather to pray, very near to the church. So this is the situation. It's a very dangerous place now. So and you can see sculpture in the wall, so that have been damaged. So it's a very important site to work on and get that in a different situation where people can start living again with the faith and with the tradition of worship. So this is the thing. And what we've done, we've tried to recover as most as pieces that we could get and so on. So protect them from loss, losing, etc. And we laid out a series of action to be taken for this thing too. So at the end, we believe we need to do 4 types of recovery projects. So one for object of worship, one for Rara Band, one for painting and sculpture, and one for book collection and institutional archives. So it's like those 4 type of recovery projects. We have example clearly of what project we're gonna do, and for each project we have set goals so we can address the situation properly. So moving beyond that, we will try to do 4 things. We try to build partnership, train people, rescue, and reinforce institution, because recovery is about also help put the institution in a situation where they can start working again. They can start manage the goods and start doing animation in the community, because culture is about that. It's a way of life. So if people doesn't have the ability to perform, they are losing the way of living. So the plan is to build partnership and secure funding, train local students and young professionals. We insist on students and young professionals because 20 years from now, I won't be here talking to you. So we need younger folks to take on the situation and be able to do that. So third aspect is to assess, document damage and rescue, and fourth, identify and build storage spaces, and at the end, inventory and stabilize collection. For each of those plans, we have each step of those plans, we have a clearly action to, you have clear action identified to work with. So we've done that before in 2010. We intend to do it in this way, but training would be a big part of it. In this time, training should be done for local people, and we will try to train local trainers. So those local trainers would train local, more local people in the region. So we have a legacy in terms of training. We have people being able to do that and being able to perform. So training involves a lot of things. You need to organize Haitian and international experts. In this case, we will be working with people at ICROM. So, and people in PowerPress would go there too. But we also need people like firefighters or other people to help, because in a disaster like in that scale, all the hands you can get is good. So assess, document damages and rescue. So it will be the third step. Once you get people trained, you get access to the documentation, and you you need to start saving things. So, and it will be a huge step, saving. We will gather more people. We need equipment sometimes, because now in the first week we've done things, but maybe when they start moving robots, you're gonna need to save other things on the robots. So that's something to be done too. Another aspect is storage. So storage will be a very important thing, as we've lost a lot of buildings, a lot of houses. So where do we put those stuff? So we need to use everything that we can get our hand on to store those cultural goods. Shipping containers are a good way to start. We've done that. And sometimes on a temporary basis, you need shipping containers. But shipping containers in a Caribbean country is a very hard place. So to store fragile cultural goods. So what we've done, we usually use shipping containers inside other structures. So we protect them from the heat, we protect them from humidities, and we did ventilation on them. So you have something like this associated with shipping containers. So sometimes we envelop the shipping containers in a wood structure. So you cool off the environment, but you still have the shipping containers to perform as a very secure place of storage. So, and hopefully you have some good structure, not damaged. We have a few of them. So whenever you can, we use them. We use as much as we can to do storage, put together shelves and boxes to put stuff. The last part of it is inventory and stabilization. So once you have your things in a secure storage place, the next thing to do is to start cataloging them, do the triage, and stabilize as much as you can. So that would be the last step of it. So as a conclusion, I can say while we're saving people's life, because this is the most important aspect to do after an earthquake, people need to survive. So, but in our point of view, we need also to save the people's reason for living. So, and that's what resilience is about. If the folks doesn't have a reason to go on, so you will not have a country. So, and we believe that culture is a reason for living. And that's why we are taking so much action to make sure that the cultural objects of worship, artworks and books and musical instruments, flags and costume get saved, and people can use them and start having a new reason for living and go on. Thank you very much.
Well,
I hear you.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation, Mr. Olsen. It was very interesting. So now we will move to the live Q&A session. Thank you. Well, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Olsen, for your presentation. So if you have questions, feel free to raise your hand or go straight to the Q&A. Me personally, I just have one question for you, Olsen. This is something that we realize in Haiti. In every natural disaster, we see that the Haitian cultural heritage is never spared. It's always goes straight to the culture. So, do you think the question today is how we can cope with this disaster in Haiti, like to preserve more cultural heritage?
Yeah, the problem is the capacity to plan ahead and then to have infrastructure ready. So because when you're living on a seismic fault, you don't have a warning. So morning you wake up and boom. So you need to be always ready. Be always ready means that you need to have institutions on site that are able to act in the first hour. You need to have people trained. You need to have a community very aware of where it's living. And you need to build your houses accordingly. So that's like a whole plan. That's the way those countries like Haiti should be run. So you cannot manage a country like Haiti without having a specific plan for disaster. So it's like when you're seeing what's happening now, it's not a priority. So, and we may be waiting for the next earthquake in the north, like tomorrow morning. So if you don't have an administration who's always ready, who's always has enough funding to address it, so you're gonna always be sorry and ask for it.
Thanks. So everybody knows that Haiti is unfortunately has a geographical position which put us all the time in that kind of situation with natural disaster and everything. And yesterday in a session, there was a presentation of a geophysician. I don't really remember. She was really talking about that situation in the Caribbean region. And this one thing I am always questioning is why today, even if we know that we have that kind of bad situations in the region, but we still don't really know how to react. So do you think it's something related to education, or I don't know?
No, we know how to react. It's like, when you say we know how to react, I've been Minister of Culture, so I know there was a lot of knowledge in the system. There's a lot of people who know how to react. But so the point is you need to have the government to make the decision to provide funding for cultural planning and recovery. This is not something that you can do without the proper plan. And it's an ongoing thing. It's not like something you plan and then you leave it. So in Haiti, the government mostly plan for Carnival instead of planning for cultural recovery. So it's very sorry to be having to say that, but you can't manage, you can't govern a country like Haiti without the proper planning for cultural recovery. Culture is everywhere in Haiti. So in every corner and every side, we're talking about a country with 27,000 kilometers. So it's like a square kilometer. So it's like, it's a small country, like many countries in the Caribbean. So you need to have a proper plan for the whole territory. And the way people are building is not safe for them and for cultural goods. The way people are living is not safe. So when you have people living in poverty, you cannot ask them to build proper place for cultural goods. So it's like, it's a whole. So you need to build wealth and then use this wealth to protect who we are. So we know in Haiti's history, we have a long tradition of buildings that respect the characteristic to build on a seismic fault. But we haven't abandoned that the last 50 years and start buildings with concrete. So, and concrete is not the problem per se, it's the way you build with it. So to build with concrete on a seismic fault is a very demanding task. So you need to know what to do. So if you don't have the proper coordination and evaluation to support people building in concrete, so you're gonna always end up with disaster like this. So it's the whole thing. But how are we gaining trust, community trust, to participate in this thing when we know there's a lot of corruption, a lot of mismanagement? So that what we're doing is trying to work with local institutions. So like if we go in the South, we work with the Voodoo Association and priests. We work with the churches. we work with the school, we work with the community centers. So those institutions who are always working with the community helps you addressing the needs. So understand what to do and train the proper people. So because to do those things, you need to train people who are at the institutions and who have access to the cultural properties. So that's what we're doing first. And in our plans, that's what we put first, training people and build partnership.
Yes, Olsen, I have another question. Do you think that cultural factors can play an important role in natural disaster preparedness, response, and recovery? If so, what is this role?
Cultural what? You said?
Cultural factors.
Oh yeah, but I mean, the way we understand culture, like the way people envision the world and the way people relate to space and to relate between them. So in our culture, we have a strong understanding of disaster and the way we should cope with disaster. So, but one thing, when you have a disaster, the first action always comes from the community. People help each other. If you don't have a home, you can go to the neighbor, and then he would give you a place to sleep. So he would give you something to eat. He would help you build your house. Usually, construction in the rural community are a collective thing. So people build collectively. So it's like when you see the Voodoo temple, there are places also where people can gather when there's a problem. So it's like you have everything in terms of solidarity, in terms of the way to act collectively, in terms of the way of communicating news and understand the conjunctures. So it's like it's not a cultural factor. It's a planning problem. It's a governance problem. So and then we need to know that if we have to protect people's life and people's way of life and culture, you need to have at the government level the proper responsibility and the proper knowledge to do so. So it's what we lack now. I don't want to talk about what is happening in Haiti. So, but basically, you have a criminal governance situation where they use gang to control the territory. In that way, you cannot preserve a culture. So because you're destroying the community who's the basis of that. So it's like we are very far from building that capacity at the governance level to address the proper cultural recovery in a proper way.
And today, what's specific action that you think government can make for the culture sector? Even if we know the situation is very complicated, but the culture sector can't get enough. So they need something else. You know, we had COVID. So right now we had political situation that is bad. What they can do, something like concrete.
Oh, I mean, we do what we can at the university. What we do is we put together a cultural recovery project, gather people around what's matter, really. So, and we work with open arm with government, with institutional partners, international partners to help us in this situation. This is on our level what we think should be doing, and that's what we are doing. But understanding what while we're talking about this, and we just got a president assassination on PowerPoint. So how do you think we could deal with both. So it's like we can work with civil society, we can work with people who are concerned, we can work with businesses. And we do that in our level, but we know there's a political situation that needs to be resolved in order to address the proper planification for cultural recovery at the government level.
Yes, perfect. I don't know if we have questions, Joanne.
I do. I had a question about funding, and funding is always a question in Haiti, right? Where, so have you been able to get public and private funding to help with recovery efforts?
For now, we do have the support of the Smithsonian. So we've been working with the Smithsonian for the last 10 years. So it's a main funding that we have for this action. The university is use his infrastructure and like what they have as funding, but we haven't got funding from the government really. And we're trying to work with other partners now. So in the community, so to be able to act without a lot of funds, because there's many things you can do without mobilizing funding. Trust can do anything, many things. So we're trying to build a local network so we can act more efficiently. So, but funding is, as you know, is a real issue.
Thank you. What's next? I guess that's my question.
What's next? Now we are planning to do the training next month. And we, in that process, we are having agreement with every collection owner that we are mainly 4 principal projects, 4 main projects, and for each project we need to build, we need to have an agreement, a formal agreement, so we can have people to access collections and work with the collection owners. That's what we're doing now, working on the agreements and planning for the training while we're still working on the funding.
And when you say people, who is working on that with the?
We have Quisqueya University Cultural Recovery Center. So it's the main institution who I'm working with. I'm the director of the center. So, but we have a team of conservators, and we have many students, volunteers, and teachers at the university who are helping. So it's a group of about 10 people in my team, but who are also having many local people. So in each institution we're working with, what we are asking them is to put together a local team so to work with us. We're gonna do the training for about 45 people, so 15 people in each department. So we are able to do that, and we mobilize all those people that's how we're planning it. So we may have enough people, manpower to help us on the ground.
I just wanted to know, do you work with ISPAN, for example, Institut de Sauvegarde du Patrimoine National, or Centre d'Art, as I know they are in that kind of activities in Haiti?
Yeah, but we will talk about historic buildings. So ISPAN is working on historic buildings. So we work with ISPAN, but we tend to focus more on movable heritage. So it's like we're working on collections. As you can see, our projects concern collections. For this, we also
have contact with the Bureau National d'Ethnologie, National Bureau of Ethnology, who's working on collections. And I've been in contact with the general director of that institution, Ewal Josue. So we have very good working relationship. I have also contacted, and we're planning to do things together, the National Archives, since we're trying to work on archives, and we'll do that. And we also work with Focal. So we've been talking to them. So, and because Focal has a network of libraries, community libraries, that they are helping on that region. So when we go and help libraries, we try to contact people at Focal so we can do something in coordination. But you know, it's not easy.
Yes, Joanne.
Yes, I have a question about, so the question that comes up, I think, for everyone, right? And that's from people like me in the diaspora and around the world, and not just, you know, Haitian Americans or Haitian Canadians or whatever, is, and I also want to ask on behalf of MAC, is also, people always want to know how they can help, right? That's what they want to know. And some people are running to Haiti to volunteer, you know, but they don't know where to, I don't even know if that's helpful for people. So how for your project in particular, how can people help? Is it by donating? Is it by helping to promoting on social media? What's best? What's our best use of our resources to assist what you're doing?
I think both is important. Like the promotion is very important. Like some people just do not know what's happening in the regions, and who are living in the diaspora, they don't know the extent of the damage and the way they can help. So by promoting this, you reach out to people who might be able to help. So helping is the best way to help, really, is with funding. And to do so, we can go to the Quisqueya website. So they have, say, unique uniq.edu.ht. So in that website, you'll find a way to help. So there was a bank account where you can send money to. So, but there was a lot of information on the way to help financially. So, but the other way we can also help is by providing contacts and information. Some people has information about an artwork being put in danger, and then we don't know about it because we're talking about a huge area being affected. So if somebody knew a real important artifact being put in danger, so if we don't know about it, we would be happy to help save it and put it in a proper place. So sometimes you need to do stabilization work, so to stop the degradation process. So that's very important to access the artwork and the artifact and be able to do so. So let's say it's important to promote this. It's important to give some funding if you know, but it's also important to give information if you know something being in danger.
And what's the best way? You said social media and promotion is important. Where do we go to get, where do we go to help promote? Like, where do we go to get the best information to help promote?
Oh, on Quisqueya website. So it's unique.ht.edu.ht. Say unique.edu.ht. That's edu.ht.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if we get 1 more minute, Joanne. We have a question from Sharon James Williamson. The question is, do you have an image library of the built heritage? Would it be possible to operationalize this as a virtual memory bank of the buildings that have been lost and a narrative around them?
again, I'm not working particularly in this project in historic buildings, but we do know when I'm talking about Voodoo temples, when we talk about like churches, around those sites, there is a narrative. There is important stories. There is important life stories. There is important there are a lot of as I can say, there's a lot of artifacts, movable artifacts that are related to historic buildings and historical sites. So by working on this, we help preserve the material aspect of it. So as for the narrative, we do not work on that specifically. So when you go, for example, on a Rara Band of Quarter, so it is basically a place where you can see flags and you can see costume and you can see musical instruments, but you really do not understand those artifacts without seeing a Rara Band performance, the songs, the history being there, the way people march, the storytelling. So it's like by preserving the artifacts, we are helping doing that. So, but we do not really in that project. On personal interest, I do that. So, but in that project, that's not what we're doing specifically. We're talking about a recovery project when we're trying to save the actual artifacts so people can keep using it in the performance, in the cultural activities.
Okay, well, so thank you, Olsen. Thank you, everyone. So, Joanne, if you have one last thing to say.
I don't have any more questions, but I want to thank you again for this wonderful session, Olsen. I think it's such an important topic for people to have information about. And like you said, not everyone knows what's going on anymore. Even since the earthquake, there hasn't been a lot of publicity. Instead, they've moved on to other stories, right?
Oh, it's always like that. Like a disaster, like it's a 1 month thing for the media. So, but for people who are working on culture, it's an ongoing thing. So,
absolutely. I know in our chat, Shireen James Williams, who works on disaster heritage in Jamaica, was mentioning she would love to work with you. There are definitely ways to put people in touch. But so we're wrapping up this session for today, everyone. And I want to thank you for attending as usual. We're heading into our discussion groups. The next discussion group is very related to this one, surviving and living with the pandemic, because we all know that we're not coming out of this pandemic. We're just having to live with the effects of it at this point in time. So please join us for that discussion. And once again, thank you very much, Stanley and Olsen, for this session.
Thank you, Stanley. It's been a long process of working to put that together. I know you've been working a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.